Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear was never supposed to reach the public. Scientists are quietly admitting something terrifying. The planet is changing faster than they promised, faster than governments can respond, and faster than humanity is prepared for. This isn't about the future anymore. It's happening right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much. People are asking me everywhere I go, they say, "Sir, is 2026 the end of the world?" Smart people, very smart people, and it's a fair question. Now look, nobody knows the future better than me. Nobody. Scientists are talking, world leaders are talking, the media, total disaster. They don't tell you the truth, but I will. They're warning about climate, about wars, about technology that's out of control. Artificial intelligence, very powerful stuff. Some say it's amazing, some say it's dangerous. I say we must be smart, very smart. You have scientists saying the planet is changing faster than ever. You have generals saying global conflicts could explode, big ones, the biggest. You have tech leaders saying AI could replace jobs, control systems, even decisions. Think about that. And nobody's in charge. That's the problem. In the past, we had leadership, strong leadership. Now, weak, very weak. No vision, no control. They say 2026 could be a tipping point. Not the end of the world, but the end of the world as we know it. Big difference. Huge difference. I've spoken to people, top people, who say if we don't act smart, if we don't think big, things could go very bad, very fast. But here's the good news, because there is good news. This is not destiny. This is not written in stone. The world doesn't end because of science. The world ends because of bad decisions. When leaders are strong, nations are strong. When leaders are smart, the future is bright. We can fix climate issues with innovation. We can stop wars with strength. We can control technology instead of letting it control us. 2026 is not the end unless we let incompetence win. So don't panic. Don't listen to fear. Listen to facts. Listen to strength. Listen to leadership. Because the future doesn't belong to the weak. It belongs to those who are prepared. And believe me, we can make the future great again. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the world. Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear was never supposed to reach the public. Scientists are quietly admitting something terrifying. The planet is changing faster than they promised, faster than governments can respond, and faster than humanity is prepared for. This isn't about the future anymore. It's happening right now. People are talking about 2026 like it's some random year, just another number on the calendar, but it's not, and everybody knows it, especially the smart people, the ones who really study what's happening, not the fake news people who pretend nothing is wrong. They're saying 2026 is a tipping point, and that's a very powerful word because a tipping point means once you cross it, there's no easy way back, no quick fix, no magic button you can press, and suddenly everything is fine again. It's the moment where trends that have been building quietly, sometimes ignored, sometimes denied, suddenly collide all at once. You look around the world and you see it everywhere, and you don't have to be a scientist to understand it, you just have to be honest. For years, nations have been borrowing from the future, economically, environmentally, technologically, and politically, and 2026 is being described as the year when the bill starts coming due. Debt levels are massive, unbelievable numbers people can't even imagine, and when confidence breaks, it doesn't break slowly, it breaks fast. Economists are warning that systems built on constant growth cannot survive endless instability, and instability is everywhere. Supply chains are fragile, currencies are under pressure, and people are losing trust in institutions that were supposed to protect them. When trust goes, everything becomes harder to control, and that's how tipping points work. Then you look at the planet itself, and people don't like to talk about it honestly because it makes them uncomfortable, but the data keeps coming in, and it's not political, it's just numbers. Ice melting faster, oceans warming, weather becoming more extreme, not just once in a while, but again and again. Scientists say there are thresholds in nature, lines you cross where systems change behavior permanently, and they warn some of those thresholds could be reached around the middle of this decade. Once crossed, you don't just go back to normal, you enter a new phase, a new reality, and that's why they call it a tipping point. Technology is another part of this, maybe the biggest part, because it's moving faster than anything humanity has ever created. Artificial intelligence, automation, digital surveillance, cyber warfare, all accelerating at a speed governments can't keep up with. Tech leaders themselves are saying this, not outsiders. The people building it are saying we are close to a moment where machines start making decisions humans don't fully understand or control. In 2026, many experts believe AI systems will be deeply embedded in finance, defense, healthcare, and communication. And when systems like that fail or are misused, the consequences are global, immediate, and very hard to reverse. Geopolitics adds another layer because the world is no longer dominated by one clear power structure. Multiple nations are competing for influence, resources, and control, and history shows that periods like this are dangerous. You see rising tensions, proxy wars, economic sanctions, cyber attacks, and information warfare all happening at the same time. Military analysts say miscalculations are more likely when everyone feels pressured and boxed in, and pressure is exactly what's building toward 2026. When red lines are unclear and communication breaks down, a single incident can trigger consequences nobody planned for. Social stability is also under strain, and people feel it in their daily lives. Cost of living is up, jobs feel less secure, communities are more divided, and trust in leadership is lower than ever. Sociologists talk about societal stress thresholds, points where frustration turns into unrest, and unrest spreads quickly in a connected world. Social media amplifies anger, fear, and misinformation at incredible speed, and once public emotion tips from frustration to panic or rage, controlling it becomes almost impossible. Many experts believe the mid-2020s represent a critical window where these pressures either ease through strong decisions or explode through neglect. Energy and resources are another issue people underestimate. Demand is rising, transitions are incomplete, and infrastructure is aging. Power grids, water systems, transportation networks, all under strain, all vulnerable. Analysts warn that a major failure in one system can cascade into others, creating chain reactions. These cascading failures are classic tipping point scenarios where one small shock leads to a much larger breakdown. By 2026, many countries will be operating with very little margin for error, and when margins disappear, risk becomes reality. Health systems, too, are part of the picture. The world saw how quickly hospitals, supply chains, and governments can be overwhelmed. Public health experts say future crises, whether pandemics or antibiotic resistance or environmental health emergencies, could emerge faster and spread wider. Preparedness requires long-term planning, but many governments focus on short-term politics instead. A tipping point in health doesn't announce itself politely, it arrives suddenly, and by the time leaders react, options are already limited. What makes 2026 stand out is not one single disaster, but the convergence of many pressures reaching critical levels at the same time. Economists call it systemic risk, scientists call it nonlinear change, strategists call it instability, but it all means the same thing. Systems that were designed for a calmer, slower world are being pushed beyond their limits. When multiple systems approach their breaking points together, the chances of sudden transformation increase dramatically. People like to believe the future changes gradually, step by step, but history shows that major shifts happen quickly, in bursts. Empires collapse faster than expected. Technologies disrupt faster than planned. Societies transform faster than leaders can manage. 2026 is being discussed as the moment when gradual warning signs turn into undeniable reality. Not because the calendar itself has power, but because trends that started years ago are aligning in time. This is why the word tipping point matters so much. It doesn't mean guaranteed destruction, and it doesn't mean the world ends overnight, but it does mean choices become more limited and consequences become more severe. Before a tipping point, mistakes can be corrected. After it, corrections cost much more and sometimes come too late. That's what experts are warning about, quietly, sometimes loudly, often ignored. Some say humanity has faced moments like this before, and that's true, but never with this level of global interconnection. A problem in one country now spreads everywhere, economically, digitally, emotionally. Borders don't stop financial panic, viruses, cyber attacks, or information chaos. In 2026, the world will be more connected than ever, which means shocks will travel faster than ever. The idea of a tipping point forces a hard question. Are systems resilient enough to absorb what's coming, or are they brittle, ready to crack under pressure? Resilience takes preparation, cooperation, and leadership, and those things are in short supply. When warnings are ignored year after year, they don't disappear, they accumulate. By the time people finally pay attention, the balance may already be shifting, slowly at first, then all at once, moving from stability into something new, something uncertain, something defined not by intention but by momentum, where events start driving decisions instead of leaders driving events, where reactions replace planning, where the future stops feeling distant and starts pressing in from every direction, shaped by forces set in motion long before, converging toward a moment many are now calling 2026, not as a prediction carved in stone, but as a window where paths narrow, pressures peak, and the direction humanity takes becomes harder and harder to change, influenced by everything done and not done up to that point, unfolding in real time as systems respond to stress in ways that cannot be fully controlled, measured, or reversed once the balance finally tips. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the world. Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear was never supposed to reach the public. Scientists are quietly admitting something terrifying. The planet is changing faster than they promised, faster than governments can respond, and faster than humanity is prepared for. This isn't about the future anymore, it's happening right now. Climate change is happening faster than they said it would, and that's not coming from politicians, it's coming from the scientists themselves, the ones who actually measure things, who look at satellites, oceans, ice, temperatures, real data, not opinions. For years, they told the public there was time, decades to adjust, decades to prepare, decades to slowly transition, and now many of those same experts are admitting they underestimated the speed, they got it wrong, not because they were dishonest, but because the systems are reacting more aggressively than expected. Nature doesn't move in straight lines, it moves in jumps, and that's what people are starting to see. Temperatures are rising not just globally, but regionally in ways that shock even experienced researchers. Heat waves are longer, hotter, and more frequent, breaking records that were supposed to last generations. Scientists say the atmosphere is holding more heat and more moisture, which means weather patterns are becoming more extreme. When it rains, it pours. When it's dry, it stays dry, and these swings are putting pressure on food systems, water supplies, and infrastructure that were built for a much more predictable climate. This isn't theory anymore, it's observation. The polar regions are changing at an incredible pace. Ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are melting faster than worst-case models from just 10 years ago. Researchers talk about feedback loops, which is a very important concept because once ice melts, darker surfaces are exposed, absorbing more heat, which causes more melting, and it accelerates. Some scientists warn that certain ice loss thresholds, once crossed, cannot be stopped, even if emissions were reduced dramatically. That's what scares them, the idea that control is slipping away. Oceans are another major concern, and most people don't think about them enough. The oceans absorb the majority of excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases, and they're warming at depths scientists didn't expect so soon. Warmer oceans mean stronger storms, higher sea levels, and disrupted marine ecosystems. Coral reefs are bleaching at record rates, fisheries are shifting, and coastal communities are seeing flooding not once in a lifetime, but multiple times a year. Sea level rise isn't some distant future anymore, it's already changing maps. Carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are climbing faster than at any time in human history, and scientists can trace it clearly. Ice core samples, atmospheric measurements, everything lines up. What's different now is how quickly concentrations are increasing. The planet hasn't had time to adapt, ecosystems haven't had time to adjust, and that mismatch creates instability. Forests that once absorbed carbon are now burning or dying, turning from carbon sinks into carbon sources, which again feeds acceleration. Wildfires are becoming more intense and more widespread, even in regions that historically didn't burn. Scientists point to higher temperatures, prolonged droughts, and changes in vegetation. Fire seasons are longer, fires are hotter, and they release enormous amounts of carbon back into the atmosphere in a very short time. It becomes a cycle that reinforces itself. Each year breaks new records, and records stop feeling meaningful when they're broken constantly. Glaciers around the world are retreating at alarming rates, supplying water to millions of people who depend on predictable melt cycles. As glaciers shrink, rivers become unreliable, first flooding, then drying up. This affects agriculture, drinking water, and energy production. Experts warn that entire regions could face water stress much sooner than expected, creating migration pressures and conflict over resources. Climate change doesn't stay in one lane, it spills into everything. Scientists are also concerned about permafrost, huge frozen regions that store massive amounts of methane and carbon. As temperatures rise, permafrost thaws, releasing these gases into the atmosphere. Methane is especially powerful as a greenhouse gas, trapping much more heat than carbon dioxide in the short term. Researchers say this process is already underway, and once it reaches a certain scale, it becomes extremely difficult to slow down. It's another example of acceleration beyond original forecasts. Agriculture is under stress from changing rainfall patterns, heat extremes, and shifting seasons. Crops are sensitive to temperature ranges, and small changes can lead to major yield losses. Scientists warn that staple crops like wheat, rice, and corn are increasingly vulnerable. Farmers are already adapting, but adaptation has limits, especially in poorer regions. Food insecurity isn't just about supply, it's about price, and when prices rise quickly, social stability is affected. Public health experts tie climate acceleration to the spread of diseases. Warmer temperatures allow insects like mosquitoes to expand their range, bringing illnesses into areas that weren't prepared. Heat stress is becoming a major cause of illness and death, particularly among the elderly and vulnerable. Air quality worsens with higher temperatures and wildfires, increasing respiratory problems. These impacts are happening now, not decades from now. One of the biggest warnings from scientists is about compound events, multiple climate impacts happening at the same time, heat waves combined with droughts, storms combined with flooding, fires followed by heavy rains causing landslides. These combinations overwhelm emergency systems and disaster response. Models show these compound events becoming more common as warming accelerates, and that's something earlier projections didn't fully capture. Another issue is that climate models themselves are being updated as new data comes in, and many revisions show faster timelines. What was once expected by 2050 or 2070 is now being discussed in the 2020s and early 2030s. Scientists are careful with their language, but when they start saying words like sooner than expected repeatedly, it gets attention. They don't make dramatic statements lightly. Energy transitions are not moving as smoothly as planned, and scientists warn that delays matter. Every year of high emissions adds more heat that stays in the system for decades. Even if emissions stopped tomorrow, the planet would continue warming for some time because of heat already stored in oceans and atmosphere. This lag effect means actions taken now affect outcomes years later, and slow responses today create faster problems tomorrow. Climate change also interacts with economic systems. Extreme weather damages infrastructure, disrupts supply chains, and increases insurance losses. Scientists working with economists warn that repeated shocks reduce resilience. When rebuilding becomes constant instead of occasional, societies struggle to keep up. Acceleration means less recovery time between disasters, and that changes everything. What worries many experts most is the shrinking window for effective action. As impacts accelerate, options narrow. Some adaptation strategies that seemed viable before may no longer work under faster warming scenarios. Coastal defenses, crop adjustments, water management plans all depend on certain assumptions about pace. When the pace changes, plans break. The scientific community is increasingly vocal because they see the gap between data and response. Reports are getting stronger, language more urgent, not because scientists want attention, but because the numbers force it. They see trajectories bending upward, not flattening. They see feedback loops activating earlier than expected. They see thresholds approaching. Climate acceleration doesn't mean everything collapses instantly, but it means stress accumulates rapidly. Systems designed for gradual change struggle under rapid shifts. Adaptation becomes more expensive, more complex, and less equitable. Wealthy regions cope better, poorer regions suffer first, and instability spreads outward. The warning is not about a single year, but about momentum. Once warming reaches certain levels, processes continue even if humans change course. That's the hardest part to communicate. Acceleration creates inertia, and inertia resists control. Scientists say the next few years matter more than the next few decades because they determine how fast the system moves. People often ask why predictions change, and the answer is simple. Reality is revealing itself. Measurements improve, impacts appear sooner, and models adjust. That's how science works. What's unusual is how consistently the adjustments point in the same direction: faster, stronger, sooner. When scientists say climate change is accelerating faster than predictions, they're not guessing, they're reporting. They're looking at oceans warming, ice disappearing, forests burning, storms intensifying, crops struggling, health systems strained, and they're connecting the dots. Acceleration means less time to debate, less time to delay, less room for error, and more consequences packed into shorter periods, pushing societies to respond under pressure, reacting instead of planning, trying to manage effects that build on each other, where each year sets the stage for the next with greater force, greater urgency, and growing difficulty as the climate system continues to move forward on a trajectory shaped by accumulated emissions, delayed decisions, and physical processes that do not pause for politics or opinion, advancing steadily, relentlessly, faster than once believed, faster than many prepared for, faster than systems were designed to handle. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the world. Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear was never supposed to reach the public. Scientists are quietly admitting something terrifying. The planet is changing faster than they promised, faster than governments can respond, and faster than humanity is prepared for. This isn't about the future anymore. It's happening right now.